Hello, everyone. My name is Autumn, and I'm going to be presenting work that I did in collaboration with my co-authors, Dewey, Kevin, and Richard. Dewey and I are with the Center for Security and Emerging Technology at Georgetown University, and Dick and Kevin are with SciTech Strategies. So, the paper I'm going to be presenting today is titled Artificial Intelligence Research Planning Using Research Cluster Extreme Growth Forecasts, a Retrospective Calibration. And what this research is really focusing on is understanding how to kind of provide a data-driven approach to planners in order to help them make informed decisions when they have to consider what areas of research they want to invest in or divest from. And so we provide a case study example of this using research in artificial intelligence and machine learning, so we can kind of understand what's going on in that specific area of research, and again, try and consider ways that we can actually provide information for planners to make decisions on how they want to invest their resources. So just jumping right into it, why AI and machine learning as a case study here. So it's been shown in 2014 that there was definitely a surge of AI machine learning in the public eye. There have been several studies that examined just mentions of artificial intelligence and machine learning in newspaper articles. And so this seems like a really interesting case study to use because they're mentioned a lot, the public's aware of them, but also, in a wide range of domains. So everywhere from policymakers to the military, to institutions and researchers, funding organizations. There's a lot of people that are interested in applying these emerging technologies into their domains. And so I just have some examples up here of newspaper titles. These are real article titles talking about how artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to kind of transform different areas. We have computer science, the world, which is pretty general, and then also business. So again, just kind of highlighting the fact that AI and machine learning is growing. It's evolving rapidly, and it's being applied in a wide range of domains. So, our framing question for our research here is, if you had to make a decision about how you wanted to invest in AI and machine learning research back in 2014, which specific areas of research would you have predicted to experience exceptional growth? And so, what we're really getting at here is, without any data, any information, can a planner make, or how easy is it for a planner to make a good decision about where to invest their resources? And this is tricky, especially for planners if they aren't subject area experts. It's even tricky because for artificial intelligence and machine learning, this is a wide range of research areas. And so even for an area expert, they're probably going to be more experienced in a particular subset of research in AI and machine learning. And so again, we really want to focus on this data-driven approach to help planners make informed decisions. And so to do that, we're going to be looking at trends in scientific literature. And this is going to help us answer some of these questions outlined here on the slide. For instance, what areas of research focus on emerging technologies? Again, trying to get, that more nuanced look into what's actually happening in AI machine learning research. Which areas of research are growing the fastest? So which ones are more likely going to be turning into actual capabilities that can be implemented in these different domains? Also, what areas of research are losing momentum? So again, we do also want to consider what areas of research a planner might want to actually divest their resources from, or consider other areas of research to invest in based on the fact that some areas are losing momentum. And then lastly, consider other data points here. So things like what institutions, what individuals, and maybe even what countries are leading these areas of research. And so again, we're going to be looking at the scientific literature to help us answer some of these questions. So to do that, we're going to be using the Scopus database. Our analysis is focusing on if we're back in 2014. So we're not in 2021 right now, we're in 2014. Can we make a good forecast out what's going to happen in 2017. So our publication dates here are limited to 1996, or from 1996 to 2014, again, because that's the world that we're living in for this analysis. And this covers about 31 million publications. And now what we have up here on the slide is what we're calling the map of science. So we're not analyzing individual papers, we're analyzing what we call research communities. So we've clustered research publications into about 90,000 research communities based on their citation links. So what that means is that for a given research community, it's made up of research publications that tend to cite each other more inside of that community than they cite publications outside of their community. And so if we look at this visual representation of the map of science, each dot on this map represents a research community. So again, this is clustering of publications, and then each community is colored by their broad area of research, which is just basically a majority vote from all the publications inside that community. What is the most common broad area of research that those publications fall under? Those are listed out in the legend there. So this provides us with a very interesting way to kind of dive into focused areas of research, as opposed to, again, just individual papers at that level, to understand what specific areas a planner might be interested in focusing on. And now the next step here, again, because our case study is focusing on artificial intelligence and machine learning, is to be able to highlight or filter down, select research communities that we believe are focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this is challenging for a couple of reasons. We've listed two here. Mainly, the general idea is that artificial intelligence and machine learning are, as I mentioned earlier, rapidly evolving. So there's not a clear definition of what AI and machine learning really encompass in the scientific literature. And they're also, changing quite quickly to kind of keep up with a clear definition there. So we've said here that AI is a moving conceptual target, and it's understood differently across researchers and observers in the field. Again, studies have kind of tried to conduct like a consensus on what AI and machine learning is by surveying different, experts in AI and machine learning, as well as just, running surveys across the general population to see how people describe or define these topics. And answers definitely vary from people around the world and experts in different, subsets of AI and machine learning. So this is challenging, but we go ahead and carry on with it because this is an interesting area of research to focus on. So how we actually go about defining AI and machine learning research communities is to use a cyber predictive model that we've trained on archive papers. The full details to this are in the citation that's linked on this slide. But generally what we're doing here is we are using archive papers because they do have labels assigned by their authors on what areas of research the author believes their paper falls under. And so we have labels for artificial intelligence and machine learning. Those tags are listed in the bullet points here. We also have these labels for computer vision, natural language processing, and robotics, which are still pretty broad subsets of AI and machine learning, but it does give us a little bit more, again, of that nuanced look into what's actually happening in AI and machine learning, as opposed to treating it just overall as a more homogeneous landscape here. These labels are non-exclusive. So what that means is that for a given publication, it can be labeled with more than one of these. So you can have a publication that has computer vision and natural language processing on it, which kind of preserves that cross-disciplinary research that we know a lot of papers have. And so how we use this at the research community level is each research community has a percentage that represents the percent of papers that were tagged as AI, computer vision, NLP, and robotics. And then we just have a diagram here to kind of show how we actually assign a categorical label. So again, each research community has a percentage, which is numerical. But if we want to be able to classify these as one particular area of AI, this is how we go about it. So we do filter down by research communities that have 50% or more AI-related articles in them. If they have less than 50%, they don't get a label. So 50% or more then get a label of either computer vision, natural language processing, or robotics. We check if those three subsets are 25% or more. If they're not, then the research community just gets assigned a miscellaneous AI machine learning, which again is just if a research community has 50% or more AI-related articles. If they do have 25% or more of these other subtopics of AI machine learning, it's just basically, again, majority vote. So the example here is if the percent of computer vision is greater than or equal to the percent of NLP-related papers, and same for robotics, then we assign this as computer vision. So we're going to be looking at this in aggregated tables of what a given research community we kind of label it as in terms of AI, machine learning, NLP, CV, and robotics. So here are the research communities, or the AI and machine learning research communities, highlighted in the context of the map of science that we just looked at. So every other research community that we're not considering is grayed out. We can see here that the majority of them are computer science, which is that purple color, but we do have some other research communities, things like earth science and biology, that actually still get pulled with that 50% or more AI-related paper threshold that we're considering. So now that we know how to select research communities that are AI machine learning related, next we turn to the forecasting method that we use for this paper. So again, details for this are in the paper that are cited in this slide. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here about how the forecasting model works. It is a pretty straightforward model. There's nothing crazy here. We're using 4 standardized indicators. So if you look at the graph here on the slide, which I think I've cut out a little bit in the bottom corner with my frame, but we're looking at the forecast year again of 2014. And we're trying to make a 3-year forecast. So we're trying to see what the average annualized growth is for a research community for the next 3 years. So we're going to be looking at from 2014 out to 2017. And we consider the stage of the research community, which considers the years since the peak year. And the peak year here is the year that the research community had the most number of publications. We also look at the age, so the average age of the papers in the research community, the vitality, which is the average reference age in the forecasting year, as well as how many articles in a research community were published in the top 250 journals, again, in that forecasting year. So we're looking for extreme growth, and in the paper that was written by my co-authors, Dewey, Kevin, and Dick, extreme growth is considered to be 8% or more, again, average annualized growth per year. And so that's what we're considering in this paper to be extreme growth, 8% or more. So our forecasting performance on our 154 AI machine learning related research communities, we have listed out the precision, the recall, and the CSI score. Just to give a little bit more context into these scores, CSI scores typically used for weather forecasting. So we're kind of comparing our 3-year forecasting model to a 3-day weather forecasting model. And typically for a 3-day weather forecasting model, there's a CSI score of 0.25. So our model actually performs at about 1.8 times better than a traditional weather forecast. So that's good. And also our precision and recall are also quite good in the context of comparing this to a 3-day weather forecast. So we feel pretty confident about using this forecasting model on our AI machine learning related research communities. The forecasting model does kind of differ in performance based on the area of research that you're looking at, just because different areas of research behave differently. So we're giving statistics here for our particular implementation. And then here's just the labels and characteristics of the research communities that we're analyzing based on their growth range. So like I said, 8% or more is considered to be extreme growth. We consider research communities to have standard growth if it's between 0% growth and 8%, and then it's declining growth if it's less than 0%. So we have the breakdown here, 79 RCs in declining growth, 60 in standard growth, and we have 15 forecasted in extreme growth. So now that we have all of our tools that we need to kind of dive into the data, I'm going to give just a rough overview of these different subsets of AI and machine learning and what our results showed us. So this is computer vision. We have 88 CV research communities. This is the majority of the research communities that we analyze. 90% of these research communities have accurate growth forecasts, and 4% of CV communities are forecasted to experience that extreme growth. Highlighted in gray at the bottom here is a forecast that we have made incorrectly. So we forecasted that there would actually be a decline in growth for this research cluster that's focusing on the computer-aided diagnosis, but it actually was a bit above 0% for the yearly growth. So that one was incorrect. The rest of them we did forecast correctly. And then here in table 3, we have the top 5 producers of CV research by country, institution, and author. So we can see that China leads here, and a university in India leads for institution. And then a researcher from Wuhan University leads for the author and institution. Next up, we have robotics. So we have 22 robotics research communities. Again, it's much less than computer vision. Like I said, computer vision leads here. We have 91% have an accurate growth forecast, and 8% are forecasted to experience extreme growth. So we have no research communities in this list that we've incorrectly forecasted. We only have one that is forecasted to experience extreme growth, and that is one that's focused on soft robotics. And then again, we have our top 5 producers. China is in the lead with US and Japan following in second and third place. We have institutions from China and Italy. We can see that the top 2 researchers here are both from institutions in Italy as well. Next, we have natural language processing. There's 8 NLP research communities. 88% have accurate growth forecasts, and 13% are forecasted to experience extreme growth. Again, we only have one here in our table that is forecasted to be experiencing extreme growth. This one's on sentiment analysis and opinion mining. Again, we have the top 5 producers. China is still in the lead here, US and India following in second and third place. We have institutions from China and India leading, and researchers from an institution in China and an institution in Spain leading there. And then lastly, we have our miscellaneous AI machine learning research communities. There's 36 of these. 89% have accurate growth forecasts, and 17% are forecasted to experience extreme growth. We do have another misclassification here noted at the bottom. It's highlighted in gray for a research cluster on music genre classification. Again, we forecast it to have declining growth, but it actually has, again, barely above 0% growth. China in the lead here, again, with US and India following in second and third place. Institutions from India and China in the top there, and researchers from China and Spain as well listed there. So just to kind of summarize what our research did is we're really trying to provide, again, that unique view into scientific literature to understand what areas of research are going to be growing the fastest to help inform decision makers. So currently, planners lack this global perspective of scientific research as a whole. And so our research provides this global view of scientific literature, a filter for AI and machine learning related research specifically, as well as an estimated growth or decline of specific areas of interest. So that is all the slides that I have for you guys today. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. My email is listed there on the slide, autumn.toney@georgetown.edu. And if you're also interested in the research that CSET does as an organization, I've also put the link to where our research lives on our webpage. So thank you guys so much for listening to this talk, and I hope you have a great rest of the time at the conference.